Hey y'all, Chauncey Fam here, Family Realty Group, eXp Realty, Family Capital Partners, Family Construction, A&E, Zombie House Flipping, all the damn things, and I'm back for another vlog, y'all. The overwhelming response when I put up my last video, which I had not put up a video for about a year, so I'm trying to revive the channel and really get back to the basics, but I didn't know how I should rebuild it because I'm in a different space. So I asked you guys, what type of content do you want to see? And the overwhelming response was that you guys want more investor information. Coming from a perspective of being a newbie investor, being a beginner, how do you get into it? What do you do? So that's how I'm showing up all 2024 is I'm going to be talking to you guys about how to become an investor. But the first thing that you need to understand about investing can mean a lot of different things. Real estate investing can come in a number of different ways and has a number of different exit strategies, meaning when you acquire this property or you invest in this property, how do you plan on utilizing it on the back end, right? So are you going to be a fix and flip investor? Do you want to buy it, put in some renovations, and then sell it for, a higher price? Do you want to be a buy and hold investor and build out a rental portfolio for long term? Do you want to be a short-term rental investor, meaning you're buying houses and you're putting it on Airbnb and VRBO and creating some sort of experience with your property? Like, are you wanting to be in multifamily? Are you wanting to be in single family? Like, it's a lot of different things. So I want you guys to understand that the perspective that I'm going to be coming from, where my expertise comes in, is on the single family fix and flip side. So that's taking a property that is 4 or less units, buying it, putting money into it to improve it, and then putting it on the market and selling it for a profit. That's my thing, okay? But everyone tends to think that flipping houses is like this thing that you do to like hit a lick. You just come up on this cheap ass house and you buy it, and then like you let your uncle come in and put in some new floors and paint, and then you sell it for a whole bunch of money and you just hit a lick. And that could not be any further from the truth. The truth is, flipping a house should be a byproduct of building out processes and systems. And I think that's something that my husband and I did really well, because what we understood is, while yes, you can stumble upon a property every now and then that like will just fall in your lap, and then you can renovate it and sell it for a profit. If you don't have some sort of system to do that over and over and over again, there's no way for you to actually build wealth and build a real business out of it. And that was what was important to us. So a lot of the things that I'm going to talk to you guys about is going to be the perspective of really flipping houses from a business sense, and not just like doing 1 or 2 in a year and just like randomly hitting a lick because somebody's mama died and then they just sold the house for little to nothing. Like, that's not necessarily the perspective that I'll be coming from. Hope that clears some shit up, okay? So I will say that when I take these calls, because I take strategy calls all the time for people that are wanting to get into investing, the number one thing that people always say is their barrier to entry. The reason that they have not flipped a house yet is because of money. That is the number one reason. And I am here to tell you that that is not the number one reason why you have not flipped a house yet. The number one reason that you have not flipped a house yet is because you don't have a plan. Because the reality is if you have a plan and you're well researched and you have a strategy put together and a team put together and like a really detailed process and system, you can go to people with money and they will give you the money to execute that plan. Here's what I mean. So I take these calls all the time and people will say, I really love construction. I really love interior design. It's always been my passion to flip a house, but I can't do so because I don't have any money and I don't know where to get money. And so then I say, okay, so that is your only barrier to entry. You be ready to go right now. Yeah, sure. All right, cool. I got money. How much do you need? And at that point, they really get flustered and like they freak out and they don't really know what to say. And they're like, well, I don't know. I don't have a house. So then, okay, well, you don't have a house. What's your marketing strategy to get a house? You do realize that like when you're flipping houses, that getting the houses and the property acquisition and marketing side is like the most important part. So what's your strategy to getting houses? Where are you going to go to get a house that you can buy, that you can invest in construction, that you can make monthly payments, that you can pay a buyer's agent and a listing agent and title fees and construction fees and holding costs and all of this shit that you have to do and still make a profit? What is your plan to find those types of properties? Oh, you ain't got no plan. Okay, well, let's just say that you know someone and they have this house and this house falls out of the sky and it meets all the criteria and it makes all the sense in the world. Okay, cool. You've got the house. How much money do you need? Do you know how much money you actually need? Do you know if you're going to just buy the house flat out cash or if you're going to use a lender? If you're going to use a lender, do you know what type of lender you're going to use or who you're going to use or what their terms are? Do they require you to have an LLC to do the acquisition? And if they do you already have an LLC? You don't? Like, guys, there's so much that goes into it. And I say all of that and I could keep going and keep going and keep going and asking more and more questions that I know that your answer would just be, I don't know to. And my whole point is that your problem is the fact that you don't have a plan and you haven't researched enough to then take that plan to somebody that does have the money to execute it. So hopefully the information that I'll be giving to you guys will help you out with building out that plan. Okay, so we'll start with the basics and I'll deep dive into some of these things in some further videos, but I have coined this term called F5. I made that up, y'all. Don't go Google it because it don't mean shit. But F5 is essentially the 5 elements of flipping a house that when you're building out your plan that you're going to need to like build out your system and your processes all around. And so that is going to be finding a property, the finding portion of it, the funding portion of it. So the money, where's the money gonna go, the financing, like that whole side. The fixing side, that's obviously construction, your scope of work, your design, whether or not you're under or over improving a property. So that's the fixing side. Then you've got the furnishing side, which is the presentation and the staging, and then you've got the flipping side, which is ultimately the marketing once it's done, the realtor that you're going to use, or are you a realtor, like how you're actually going to flip this property once everything else is done. So those are your 5 things: find, fund, fix, furnish, flip. F5. Okay, so let's start with finding. Again, guys, finding the house is arguably the most important part of the process, because obviously if you don't find a property that has the type of spread in it that you need, let's stop real quick for a definition break. A spread is the difference between your acquisition price and the price that the house can actually sell for. So if you buy a house for $100,000 and it can actually sell for $300,000, then you have a $200,000 spread in that property. But essentially, to find a house with a big enough spread for it to make sense for you to do all the things that you need to do, make all of the monetary and time investments that you need to make, and then you turn out with a decent profit on the back end, like it needs to be a special type of seller that is willing to offload their house because of whatever reason that it's not gonna go on the regular market. They can't just throw it up with a realtor and have people come and look at it and get multiple offers. Like, it ain't gonna work for that. So how do you find those people? Because there are a number of ways. And again, we'll deep dive in other videos with each of the 5 F's. But on this one, just to give you high level, you can do everything from Google pay-per-click, you can do Facebook and Instagram and YouTube ads, you can do community outreach events, you can build a rideshare fleet, you can build relationships with probate attorneys, with divorce attorneys, with freaking funeral homes. Like, it is so many different things that you can do and so many resources out there. But essentially, you need to build out a process and a system of something that you can do all the time. Like, it can't just be something that you do one time, that you tap into one time. Again, to build an actual business doing this, it needs to be a duplicatable process and system that you're doing all the time, because that is where the money is. You actually make your money on flipping deals at acquisition, and that money is actualized when you sell it. Let me say that again. You make your money on house flips at acquisition, and that money is actualized when it sells, which means if you make a bad buy, if you buy a house that then needs a shit ton of work that you didn't anticipate, or maybe the sell price isn't exactly what you thought it was going to be when you bought it, then you're screwed. So you have to almost be overly conservative in the beginning when finding properties, but more importantly, you've really got to get strategic and have a calculator and have a system and a process of actually ruling out what's a good property versus a bad property, and just rinse and repeat and do it all the time. The funding side. Understand that you do not use a traditional loan when doing a fix and flip. Typically, people use hard money loans until they get a lot deeper into the process and you get commercial lines of credit and private money and things like that. Most of the time, it is a hard money loan. A hard money loan is an asset-based loan. They don't care about your credit. They do care that you have enough cash to close on the deal, but they really don't care about like what your income is. They don't really care about what your credit is. They care more about the asset and what the deal looks like. So how much is the house worth now, what the renovation is, and how much is it worth, at the end, because ultimately if you can't pay, they just gonna take it and they gonna make money anyway. So it is an asset-based loan, not necessarily a buyer profile-based loan. So a lot of the issues that you have with buying just a traditional house, you're not going to have if you find a good deal. Again, this is leading back to finding a good deal, having a good process, understanding how to analyze the deals and all of that. That is very important. But what's really, really cool about hard money lenders that you don't really see in a lot of industries is the fact that your hard money lender, if they're good, you can send them deals that you just want to know more about and just send them an address and what you think is going to be the rehab cost, and they will run an analysis for you. And what they'll do is let you know, they'll run something called a term sheet. A term sheet is really cool, and this is something that you can ask any hard money lender for when you first talk to them, is to send you a term sheet. So if you have an address for a property, ask them what their term sheet is, and it will spell out for you what your down payment is, your cash to close, what your monthly payment is going to be, what your taxes are, you know, and more importantly, it tells you what they think that the house is going to be worth once it sells. Another quick definition break, ARV. ARV stands for after repair value, and after repair value is literally what it sounds like. You buy a shitty house, you fix it up, what is it worth after the repairs? And so the ARV is what that hard money lender is really gonna look hard at, and it's really cool as a new investor to reach out to a hard money lender that's cool and knows what they're doing, because they will let you know, like, this isn't a good deal or it is. And if it isn't a good deal, the worse the deal is, the more money you're gonna have to bring to close. Does that make sense? Okay. On the fixing side, this is a whole thing, right? Everybody thinks that the fixing side is literally just like, I got a cousin, I got an uncle, my daddy works on houses. But here's the problem. Because there are professional flippers like me and many, many others out there that have processes and standards, and you know, we have unique design and all of that, it is very, very difficult to get into the flipping world now and let somebody that's just a handyman do all of the work and expect to command a high sell price as competition to somebody that has a product like mine. What you have to understand is what you're putting out with your construction is literally a product. That is your end product, and you cannot just go in and half-ass it and expect to get a lot of money on the back end, because you will lose your ass. The fixing part is very, very important. I would say before you start that you need to interview and talk to a couple of different general contractors. And I know a lot of you are like, well, I probably won't have a lot of money to pay a GC. If you find a good enough deal, you will. Again, all roads lead back to finding a good deal. If you find a good deal and every single penny doesn't matter because you have so much margin and spread built into your deal, then you can do it right. And you can hire a general contractor and a project manager to make sure that you're not doing shit wrong to begin with and then having to pay them a second time to go back and fix it, which is what happens almost every single time when people try to do it on their own if they don't have any construction experience. But be interviewing some general contractors, interviewing some construction managers, some project managers. What do they charge for flooring installation? Do they have accounts with wholesalers where you can get any of your materials cheaper than buying them retail? Like, it is so many things that you need to understand about the construction side of the business, because you really, really, really want to execute not only a pretty product, but a high functioning product, because I cannot tell y'all how many times people have gone in, they've made a really pretty product, but because they didn't know the right questions to ask and their contractor just did whatever they told them, then none of the mechanicals were fixed, and then a lot of that shit has to get ripped out once it's all said and done. So fixing is a really, really, really big part of everything. Obviously it's construction, but again, doing it right leads back to you analyzing and finding a good deal to begin with. Furnishing is gonna be the staging side of things. I highly recommend that if you're gonna put tens of thousands of dollars into a flip, that you absolutely stage it. I do not see why anyone would not stage a flip. It is how it is presented. It's like getting dressed and putting on half of your makeup and no eyelashes and like not combing out your hair, but like you got on a badass outfit. Like, you're just not gonna present well because it's not all the way done. It's the same concept. Like, why would you invest tens of thousands of dollars into something and then not finish it? And so staging is really just like the last little finishing touch to make everything come all together. I think it's really, really important. And then the last thing is going to be the flipping, which is the actual sales process. Guys, you need a realtor. Unless you are a realtor, hire a realtor that understands how to market. It is so, so, so important. The pricing is gonna be important. They will also be able to even possibly come in during the process, make sure you're not over or under improving for that particular neighborhood. You don't wanna be putting in marble when the neighborhood does not have anything like that in it, and vice versa. You don't wanna go in and put in a bunch of cheap shit and it's a really nice neighborhood. So a realtor should have a good pulse on that neighborhood in the area and be able to help you price it properly, help you make sure that that you're not over and under improving and present it well with good pictures and all of that. And also using them on the front end. Again, going back to the beginning on the finding part, you can use realtors to help you find properties. You can use realtors to help you analyze deals and understand what the ARV is on a house. Like, they can run the comps. And so it's really, really important to partner up with a good realtor so that on the back end of flipping, it's really, really good. So it's really, really an efficient process. That's just kind of the basics, right? Of building out a plan and understanding that money is not your issue, but building out a plan is. And I'm going to deep dive into those 5 F's over the next 5 videos. So I'll have one just strictly on the lead generation and how you can generate lots of distressed seller leads and how you can, you know, do the funding. And then I'll have like some sample term sheets so I can show you guys kind of what the breakdown of the numbers look like, and then what the scope of work and construction looks like, and questions to ask, you know, a contractor. So I'm going to really, really expand upon all of those things, but understand that those are the 5 fundamental basics for building out a flipping business. And that's what we about to be talking about all 2024. So go on and drop a like, comment, follow, subscribe, do all the things, hit the bell button so that you're notified every time I have one of these videos, and head on over to myrealestaterebel.com if you'd like to book a call with me and we can chit chat about your strategy with building out your flipping business. And until next time, peace.